Uh, while the team here in Houston continues to follow along with the Expedition 30 cruise timeline on orbit, we'll also take a moment to talk with Ken Tenbush, who is also down at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. He is the Commercial Crew Programs Partner Manager for ATK. And Ken, we appreciate you joining us today.
Hey, good morning, Kyle. Very good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I just talked to John and Gennaro about their role in the overall program as partner managers for each one of these 7 companies that are part of the program. And of course, your role is to be the partner manager for ATK. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up where you are today.
Sure, yeah. I grew up in a small town in Michigan, and probably, I think, as a young boy, just watching, the Saturn V rocket, head towards the moon and seeing the likes of Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, all those, it just always excited me from the very beginning. So I think that was kind of the impetus to kind of keep me on a path to, keeping excited about science and mathematics and moving me towards eventually getting my college degree. And so yeah, I had some good luck as far as finding my way to NASA. I started first after my graduation from the air. I graduated with my bachelor's in aerospace engineering at the University of Florida, and then worked in the Air Force. And while I was there, after my early tour, I had an opportunity to do some interviewing at NASA and found my way working there. So that was my start as far as getting into the space industry. I think I will say this, I spent this summer while I was in college doing cement construction, and that also was a pretty good, it gave me the desire to stick it through and make it through and get my degree. So I had that good luck as far as getting an interview and then eventually getting the job at Kennedy Space Center, and I pretty much stayed here my entire career.
And when did you join KSC?
It was back in 1989. Hard to believe it's been over 20 years now. But there I had a good career, as far as following my heart and being able to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do here, and very blessed.
And what did you work on before Commercial Crew now?
I started out as an external tank mechanical systems engineer, and then had a chance to work with some NASA test directors while here in operations, working through, various issues as far as with tank processing, ground processing here at KSC. And that always excited me, so I did that for quite a long time and eventually got into landing operations. And then since I was working closely with the orbiter at that point, I was asked to be a vehicle manager for 2 different orbiters, both OV-104 and OV-103.
And that's Atlantis and Discovery.
Exactly. and then eventually that led to a flow director position, which gave me a chance to see the shuttle program from a lot of various areas, as far as seeing the interconnections, and all the effort that goes along with putting a vehicle together and getting it ready for flight. And then from there, and then given some background that I had as far as with Marshall and working with ETSRB operations, had a small stint as far as with working with Marshall Design Engineering, and primarily, as far as with the solid rocket booster specifically. And then I did work closely with ATK at that point. And then, given I think a lot of the various experiences that I had, it just made sense to start working Constellation just before the end of the shuttle program. So I was working upper stage design and development, and I was, that was very exciting work that I was able to do there. And then, so given that, it was a nice, easy transition to work Commercial Crew.
I was going to say that's a perfect transition to the role you're in now with ATK, right?
Specifically with ATK, exactly, because I've been working so closely with Ares 1 on design and development, and then here ATK, is leveraging off of that, all that work and effort that had been done during that program, the Constellation program. It was was perfect as far as working with them and trying to continue to help them work through their development of that rocket.
Yeah,
their rocket being the Liberty rocket.
Right, right. I don't need to ask you about being integrated with them then, because you've obviously worked pretty closely with them, and then so the transition into a partner manager role under Commercial Crew was pretty simple, I would think, because you already knew all those people.
Exactly, Kyle. So yeah, that was I knew a lot of the folks. I knew it was a very good, hard-working team, and I knew how they were, using what had already been done as far as through their NASA experiences, because we have had contracts with them in the past, and a good working relationship always with ATK. That again, it was just such an easy transition to continue that effort and help them to continue to build what I would say a good rocket. That could carry crew very easily. Let me now take it maybe a little bit more further into the Liberty rocket itself, because you've got now a first stage that has got what I will call a very good, robust design, that has evolved through the years. And now you take that motor, add an extra segment, 5-segment motor, as a first stage. You've got a very dependable first stage there. And then, then what they did was they worked closely with Astrium, and that's one of the partners that builds the Ariane 5 rocket. And so they took the core stage of that particular rocket and then looked to integrate that as an upper stage for the Liberty rocket. So now you've got basically two systems that are very good designs with a great safety record behind them. And then it was just a matter of now ATK continuing to develop and integrate those two systems together into one solid, dependable rocket.
Well, now now ATK is a tiny bit different than what John's working with SpaceX and Gennaro with Boeing, but because ATK is one of the unfunded Space Act Agreement partners, but it doesn't change the fact that you guys have developed milestones and you're working toward those. Can you talk about some of their milestones that are behind them and ahead of them?
Sure, absolutely. That it's the unfunded SAA is just like the funded SAAs, as you said, except that ATK is basically doing their development all on their own funding. Yet they still wanted to work closely with us. They still wanted to try to pull on a lot of the expertise, especially if you consider, the team that we could pull together and help them, a team that has already been working a lot of that design, over the last 5-6 years. So they said, look, we don't want any money, but we would like to have some advice, on some of our designs and some of our planning, and how we plan on working through our certification effort. And so, again, it's a matter of now taking these components and then eventually integrating that into one overall rocket. So that's kind of where they're heading. The final heading right now, as far as at least within our initial, I'll call agreement, is to get them through a state where they're very close to what I would call an integrated preliminary design review, since they still have quite a ways to go as far as integrating into one overall vehicle. You got the good components, you got all the piece parts in place, but now you need to be able to take it to that next level when you can actually certify a complete launch vehicle. And this particular launch vehicle, because of the power that you get from that first and now upper stage, and they're looking at carrying on the order of 45,000 pounds to low Earth orbit, fully capable of taking spacecraft, satellites, or if they wanted to, even like quite a bit of cargo to a station. So they've got different configurations that they're looking at, and it also builds a solid business case for not only supporting maybe our future needs with NASA, but then also with the DoD, the Air Force, and also with maybe the launch LSP, a launch support program, and some of their satellites, heavy payloads that they need to have a very large rocket to be able to carry them to that low Earth orbit area. So, I mean, they've got a very good vehicle and a solid business case for continuing to develop this particular vehicle. So they were just looking for our help in getting them through all the different various testing that they need to do to be able to get this vehicle off the ground.
Well, I know it's old hat to ATK. They've been around a long time, but it sounds like it's very exciting because it's a new program for them, as well as you working with them, right?
Right. I mean, they were very excited, even getting the unfunded SAA, and you can see that their team is poised to try to take it to that next level. So they're going to be they're working quite hard to try to get into that next what I'll call that next phase of our development effort, and working with all these various industry partners. And if they're able to get that, then they're going to be looking at some test flights as early as maybe the end of 2014. So I mean it's close, and you can see it in their faces. I mean, they want to clearly build this rocket.
Well, it sounds really exciting, all the work you guys are doing to support of Commercial Crew, and I really appreciate you stopping by also and talking to us for a few minutes about what you're doing and how you're supporting Commercial Crew with ATK. So, Ken, appreciate it a lot. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Kyle. Appreciate you having us here and getting a chance to talk all this. Very exciting stuff for sure.
Okay, take care, and we'll hopefully talk to you again in the future.
You do the same. Bye.
That's Ken Tenbush. He is the partner manager for ATK, one of the partners in the Commercial Crew program for NASA. All 7 of them supporting in various aspects, with a partner manager that focuses on the entire program. Tomorrow, on Friday, we'll have the final 3 partner managers join us to talk about their role in support of the other 3 remaining partners that are in part of the overall Commercial Crew program.